please give this video a like and subscribe! If you know what's good for you, you'll follow us on Rumble.
And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Alison, and this is Maintaining Frame, where we're going to continue to go through this Cambridge.org article that I guess makes the argument that, if we don't allow women to reproduce with alphas and have other men pay for their luxuries, then our society's gonna collapse. Is that kind of what they were saying? That but like men have to
basically
flip the bill for it. Yeah,
basically what they're saying is women should have the benefits of provision. I mean, and it's just women, because the children are harmed greatly by this entire framework. As we know, the products of single motherhood, not great, not a good situation.
No.
For children to be raised in. Just as an aside, I find it hilarious that women will get on each other's case about, I don't know, eating sugar during pregnancy, but not having a father, that's okay. That's fine. It's ridiculous. But regardless, yes. So they're arguing that we need more of the very thing that's suppressing our fertility in the first place. Because right now what we're seeing is not just that overall fertility is declining, but that decline is biggest in single women. So it used to be that single women, well, they didn't reproduce as often as married women or as much, but they did somewhat, and now they aren't at all. So when the article argues, let's keep women single or allow women to remain single or be single mothers, that doesn't actually increase the fertility, and there's no evidence it does. Whereas married women have continued to have about 2 children per married woman. So the fertility decline is not in partnered women, it's in single women. And the overall fertility decline is because of a lack of women partnered with men. Full stop. So this entire paper's argument that we should continue to make it easier for women to not partner with men, not only does it really beg the question, why are women entitled to men's labor, right? Like, when in the past has there been a group of people who were part of a biological category in which their labor was seen as the just property of another group of people? Didn't we get away from that? Didn't we call that something and we just decided we weren't going to do that anymore? But anyway, that's the argument of this paper. And one, it won't do what it thinks it's going to do, which is increase fertility. It will only decrease fertility. And 2, it's vastly unethical. Like this is going backwards, folks. Right now, we shouldn't be in this situation where there's a net tax transfer from men to women. What justifies that? Nothing. There is no justification that money flow from one biological group to another. None whatsoever. So right now, this is wrong on its face. But let's do more of it. Let's put more gasoline on the fire of birth rates tanking. All right. I mean, there's some things in this paper I can get behind. Talking about figuring out in terms of endocrinology, like understanding females' reproductive endocrinology. It's what I talk about when I talk about V1A cross activation, right? That I can get behind. But not, we need more communism. No, sorry, not communism. Communism would be for everyone, presumably. We need more transfers from men to women through the state. So we need more state bureaucrats enforcing a bioessentialist hierarchy. Sorry, this really infuriates me. The solution is wrong both mechanically and ethically. And those are the kinds of solutions that really get under my skin, the ones that are wrong in every conceivable way. All right. Shall we begin? Oh,
Yeah.
wait,
Did
I
you
should
do
do
the
the
things
thing.
yet? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So if you want to send a message at any point throughout the show, you want to ask who is this anime cat thing that is ranting so much, you could do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's the very best way for you to send your message and a tip with that message, because your message does not go through YouTube's comment labyrinth to be eaten by YouTube's Minotaur. Instead, it goes to us, and we get the full benefit of whatever funds you send. So it's a win-win, but not for YouTube, but they're not counting. And if you want to support the show, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/support. I have finally got the new plugin up and running. I know it looks different, guys, but don't worry. It works and it's good. You don't, like, if you are a current subscriber, you don't have to resubscribe at the new fundraiser. That's not how it works. It's a different platform, not a different platform. It's a different plugin. So it's a different financial system. But do not worry, everything is good. Jeez, I'm making you guys worry, aren't I? Feedthebadger.com/support. It'll all be fine if you go and support us there. Feedthebadger.com/support. You do have a few more options. You can do reoccurring if you'd like to support the fundraiser monthly for however long you want. And so that gives you a little bit more options. And yeah, so there you go. Or you can go look at the leaderboard, see who's winning. Feedthebadger.com/support. And finally, if you want to join us in our community, not Feed the Badger, BadgerNation.online. All right, Brian, let's do it.
Okay, before we start, I got a super chat or a rumble rant, that is, right off the top. And it was Roboto123456 sorry, who says, for $1, the decline is inevitable, but it is a balance which must be maintained. Every few years, certain things needs to happen. Sadly, it requires commitment and time. All right, thank you for that. Oh, good, we got special people in the chat. That's cool. We got special chat people activated in the vertical. Please give us your comments. We really want those.
What do they have to say? What do they have to say?
Olivia Maynard said there is no man tax, and then went over to the horizontal to go there and said, men paying child support isn't communism. Taxes are taxes. Theft is theft. So, like, because somebody said taxation.
No, Olivia. No. Okay. We're not doing child support anymore. Presumption of shared custody. You pay for your kid when you have the kid. The end. That's it. Then everybody's happy. The kid gets his father. You get what women are always complaining about, which is that they're doing way more of the work, even though they're getting, the child support. Now you won't be. Now it'll be 50-50. There you go. Everybody wins. Right? That's what we do. We do shared custody. And what's wrong with shared custody? You tell me, Olivia. You tell me. All right, let's keep going.
All right, so now on the article or the paper. So where we stopped it at was at this table. So I should probably give a little bit of context to the table. So this is in the section called "Our Emotions Do Not Work for Us, but for Our Genes." We were talking about how, it's this biological determinist argument that the genes are everything, nothing can be done about it. So let's engage in redistribution of resources from men to women. And okay, so it says, we hypothesize that our era's increasing singledom primarily stems from women's greater emphasis on short-term mate preferences due to novel environmental factors that disfavor biparental care for reproductive success. Having well-paying jobs as well as generous welfare, okay, puts females in a position evocative of what they had in our great ape ancestors' promiscuous mating regimes. They can take care of children without the father's help. Most women may
No,
not.
no.
Go ahead.
Okay, that's not what's happening. The great apes, which there is actually some contest over whether or not the ancestor that we share with chimps was a promiscuous mater. Okay, so that's not a given. And in fact, I've looked at the actual evidence, and one of the biggest evidentiary reasons for considering our shared common ancestor. So essentially what chimps and humans descended from, one of the big evidentiary reasons for considering them promiscuous is now off the board. So they're even more likely to have been pair bonders, with chimps being the ones that broke off and went into the promiscuous model. So right off the bat, you can't confidently assert that our shared ancestor with chimps wasn't a pair bonder, right? And then when you look at the chimp model, our current model does not resemble it. And the reason why it does not resemble it is because chimp females don't get welfare at all. Okay, there's a completely the idea of women being supported by a community is underwritten by pair bonding in the first place. Right? We have that. We have community support of women because of pair bonding. Chimps don't have that, and they don't need it. The female chimps can provide for themselves and their offspring, as long as I suppose the male chimps defend the territory. Right? So this is an erroneous comparison right off the bat. Okay, and yeah, I'm gonna call it out. I'm gonna say, yeah, you're not actually engaging in this accurately. And the other thing is that, do we really want to go to a chimp model? Like, first,
Yeah,
there's a
I
lot of
know.
things
Is that
that
actually moving forwards?
is that moving forward. I mean, is this what we're at now? Like, because there's a lot of stuff we don't want that chimps do and don't do. And even worse, bonobos do that we don't want. Right? We don't want a situation. Let's look at the bonobos. What woman wants to sign up to a situation in which Ma Baker's favorite son gets to rape you whenever he wants? Because that's the bonobo situation, guys. Right? That's the Ma Baker, top of the clan, the female matriarch. She decides who you reproduce with. She decides which of her sons gets to rape you that day. Is that what we want as women? Is that the system that we want? That's the bonobo system. Now the chimp system's a little less nasty, but still, right, it's not fun. And again, we don't even have it because there's no chimpy underclass paying for welfare for chimp women or females. Right? That doesn't exist. So we aren't like that at all. The very thing that makes us different than chimps are pair bonding, men's coalitional bonding, and it's not just coalitional, it's custodial coalitional. So one of the big differences between chimps and human males is that human males' hierarchies are not based on dominance. They're actually based on competence. So because of that, human male hierarchies are extremely stable. They don't involve dominance, aggression at all. If you think about it, like think about our modern society. When a man engages in trying to force something on another person through violence, what is that
Yeah.
called? Crime. It is completely socially unacceptable. And we have a whole apparatus to punish it and contain it. Our hierarchies are not dominance hierarchies. They are based on competence again, and they're very stable. So, for example, you'll have, like, let's imagine a medieval town, right? You have the smith. He's competent in his realm of competence. He defers to the tanner, who is competent in his realm of competence, who defers to the carpenter, who is competent in his realm of competence, who defers to the butcher, who's competent in his realm of competence, who defers to the smith, who's competent in his realm of competence. And all of that works because the butcher wants a sharp knife, the smith wants a workshop that doesn't fall around his ears, the tanner needs hides from the butcher. So it's like this interconnected, it's not even really a hierarchy, it's more like a network of competence. And human men form these naturally. Chimp males don't have that. So your choice, ladies, is between being raped by Ma Baker's favorite son or getting smacked around a lot. Yay! Because that's also what happens in chimp society. They don't do the matriarchy thing, but the females get slapped around because it's more of a dominance hierarchy. Those are your choices. Let's go for let's go back to monkey. All right.
Reject modernity. Okay. I got
Return to
another
monkey.
super chat or rumble rant, sorry, and a super chow. But first, Roboto123456 says for $2, if feminists use the whole picture, would they have much of a case to make? Use the whole picture? No, they wouldn't if they had to like. But I don't know. I mean, well, it is feminist insofar as it's putting women not just first, but like only. Dark Kikimura gave us $5 super chow and says, "My love is vengeance that's never free." Okay. That's from the Who. Okay, so let us go back to the article. Okay. Most women may not consciously want to solo parent, but it could still increase their fitness. This hypothesized mating equilibrium shift away from pair bonding, now we reference table 1, could partly account for observed dating app patterns, as it would motivate women to allocate more of their mating effort toward the most desirable men.
Okay, so, I gotta get in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, all right. It's multiple things. First of all, I did want to address the super chow that said that feminists, or you said that feminists put women first. I'm going to say no. Feminists put sociopaths first. Right?
Fair.
And the reason why I say this is feminists encourage women to tolerate the behavior of a man who will never commit to them, has no intention of doing so, and simply wants to I don't want to say use them for sex, but that's it. That's all that's on. And these women are not happy with this. That's why you get all of these TikToks coping with, the guy that won't commit. Well, why won't he commit? Because one, you are going after a man who is probably well above your pay grade. And two, even if he wasn't, like, even if he was he was in you're also going after sociopath, which is why you all talk about having narcissistic exes, right? And this is something that's encouraged by feminism, because feminism encourages you to swallow your desire to have commitment by saying, oh, I'm a strong, independent woman. And that's why I have to tolerate being some dude's booty call at Thursday 3:30 to 4:15 out the door, when I'm done, that kind of thing. And I've seen women doing this. They're tolerating situationship bullshit that I wouldn't. But I'm not a feminist. So, like, I don't have to embrace the suck. I can just be like, I don't want that in my life. But feminists, of course, have to embrace the suck because they're feminists. They have to be available to these men and then excuse all of the problems that creates by simply saying, well, I have to be strong and independent. So I'm going to swallow all of this emotional shit. And then the other thing is that who decided that these were the most desirable men? Like, once you take out the idea that getting commitment, because this is something that if you look in the past, a woman who could actually get a man to commit, that had a bit of prestige to it,
Yeah.
She was wife material, right? She was seen as being a bit, a higher class than a woman who couldn't. Right? There was a bit of a status to it. That's not the case anymore. Now we say that with women, get a man to commit, she's losing out. She's a fool. Okay? So when you take out the commitment, the men who are desirable no longer are men who commit. That's no longer a factor of male desirability.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And what do you end up with? You end up with these guys who just want to play the field. Good on them. This is the situation that men are in. Fair enough. I'm not going to judge them. They just want to play the field. They have no intention of committing. And then they become desirable, even though, literally, the human race is the human race because of men's commitment, because of their commitment to family. Like, if we want to race backwards down the evolutionary ladder, sure, women can continue to not incentivize commitment, but that doesn't make the men they're screwing more desirable. Like, on what level? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you have to really twist the hierarchy to start getting these guys to be more desirable. And they are more desirable, supposedly, because, again, commitment is taken out. And it's taken out why? Because feminists have convinced women that when a man commits to them, they're a fool. They're a fool. They're a pick-me. They're a handmaiden of the patriarchy. They're an idiot. They're stupid. They're getting one over on them. They're subject to a con. They're being frauded. Emotional labor. Chore gap. All of this other. How many words are there to tell women that being in a relationship with a man is being a fool? And all of them originate with feminists. So you got this situation where a man's commitment is worthless. It's anti-worth. It's like anti-worth. Like it's a source of humiliation for a woman to have been chosen, to choose a man, to submit. So once you get that in place, the only question is how high of a status man do I choose to be humiliated by? And that's what happens when you take out commitment as a desirable quality in men. And then, of course, the downside of that is the misery, because you can see the women swallowing the pain of not being committed to and saying, I'm going to be a strong, independent. My emotions are my own. I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need commitment from a man. All I need is to be dicked down like once a month. That's it. And they're just convincing themselves. And feminism tells them to convince themselves to turn themselves into sexual conveniences for men who won't commit. It is an absolute joke. I'm not laughing like ha ha ha, that's really fun. I'm more like, good Lord, what have we done to ourselves? Okay, let's keep going.
All right. So the table. I think we missed some more. Wait, did I miss any more super chats? No. So the table 1. A line of modern pressures may influence women to emphasize short rather than long-term mating strategies, which underpin our contemporary mating equilibrium shift. Different environments facilitate distinct equilibria between short and long-term mating, all of which could be adaptive, but reliable contraceptives seem to be the main mismatch that hinders today's mating equilibrium from providing populations with sufficient reproduction. And so they have like a list that shows the pressure or change, the mechanism triggered, and then the outcome. So do you want me to go through those, or yeah, go ahead.
Are you actually able to show this?
I'm showing it right now.
I have it the left can't meme? The left can't meme?
Yeah, that's what this table is, right? Yeah.
The left also apparently can't make tables. Like, good Lord. I guess they're trying to be comprehensive. It's recovered. I guess it's saved a bit by the fact that it has sources in this final column. Shall we go through this table?
Well, we can
Oh
use
my
it as
god.
some examples. I mean, whatever you want to do, but okay. So okay, here's an example. The first one. Working women's economic independence caused reduced dependence on male provisioning. So it's basically like the cause and effect, okay? Outcome, less incentive to settle for moderate value partners. Then the
Okay.
next, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to get in there. There are communities where women are, for example, hunter-gatherer tribes where women provide the majority of the calories and they still partner up. So I don't think that's actually it. In fact, like women throughout history have been in charge of what was the economic unit of production, which was the home. They still partner up. So I don't know. I think that there's something else going on. Um, Again, I think that the less incentive for moderate value partners is simply the making men's willingness to commit something that isn't desirable, right? Like
Yeah,
we if you women don't look at that, like they don't look at in fact what's really hilarious, and by hilarious I mean tragic, is that you take a man equally like just imagine you clone him or whatever, you have two of him, right? One won't commit. He wants to play the field indefinitely forever, right? And the other will. And because of the situation we're in right now, you take the same man, one who won't commit and one who will, and the one who will commit is less attractive to women because the instant he can be had, he's no longer attractive because the attractiveness was the social proof. Every other woman wants him. Well, once he's settled, you know, they may still want him, but the fact that, he's not going to play the field unless he does, like the some of the red pill guys do, it's going to reduce that stability is going to reduce the sense of missing out or that potential loss, the fear of missing out in the woman, and it's going to reduce what she's perceiving as her attractiveness to him, which is the adrenaline of potential loss, right? So as soon as he commits to her, he takes a massive debuff in his attractiveness to her. And this is why like a lot of guys are playing the field now or not even getting involved because it's exhausting, right? It's because as soon as they offer anything stable, she loses attraction because the attraction in this system was based on the fear of missing out for her and the
yeah,
potential the status loss that could ensue that her girlfriends might snap him up. So the minute he commits, the minute she can have him, it actually forecloses on him being attractive to her. So that's the greatest irony of this situation. It is so dysfunctional. It's so dysfunctional that the same man willing to commit makes him less attractive. And that's what I mean by men's commitment being of negative worth in this dating landscape. As soon as a man commits, he takes off the table himself walking away. And it was the very possibility of him walking away that made her attracted to him in the first place. What do you do with that? You don't do anything. You just die as a species. Okay. I might end up ranting about all of these. So,
it's okay. Next, you want me to go through the rest of the chart?
yeah, sure. I'll
Or,
just shut up.
all right. Generous, so, okay, so when you have a generous state welfare, safety nets, and daycares, then it triggers a state, the state substitutes the provider and care role. This we've talked about on here forever. Basically, the government is the father now and not the men. And then the outcome of that is solo parenting becomes what they're calling it feasible, and male provisioning is less valuable. So they're literally pointing at the situation they're creating and saying, "Yeah, we did that, but it's good, isn't it? Look at how good this is. Look at how liberated women are now." Number 3, ambiguous male utility. So apparently they don't think that males have any utility or they don't understand what it is, even though literally everything is running on men's work, like everything, but they don't see it because it's not in front of them. So ambiguous male utility leads to women cannot easily assess long-term value, which then results in delayed parenting and single motherhood. Reliable contraception and legal abortion leads to a severed link between sex and pregnancy. So now sex is like completely divorced from pregnancy and family, which leads to reduced downside risk and more latitude for short-term mating. I just want to point out, they keep saying, they use this term short-term mating. What they just mean is being a slut. Like, can we just say that? Like, just like playing the field, getting some dick out there in the wild. Like, that's what it is. Like, to me, if you're promiscuous, be promiscuous. But don't act like you're engaging in short-term mate selection. That's not, that's just whore with extra steps. I'm sorry. To me, I can't think of a way to say it that doesn't sound derivative, or not derivative, derogatory, but I don't know how else to describe it. Like, the article wants,
but with strategy.
Yeah, but they're calling it a strategy, but is it though? Like, what does it result in? Like,
nothing. That's
STDs, single motherhood, a bunch of kids that don't know who their father is,
Not even single motherhood anymore. It's not even a short-term mating strategy. It's just a short-term strategy for disease vectoring, I guess. Right? Because, of course, women don't enjoy sex, as they say repeatedly. They don't enjoy sex with men, so I guess they're just doing it to make sure that the STDs don't go extinct.
Yeah,
it's charity. It's you don't want those
STDs
little
are
bugs
in fact
to die.
a living organism, and therefore
Exactly. We gotta feel. You gotta make sure they got access to their habitat.
Not quite as important as space rocks, but like it's close.
No, yeah, but it's close, right?
Yeah, it's close.
Feel compassion for your syphilis today. But like seriously, this is not a strategy. It's not short-term mating. Here's the thing, okay? Chimpanzees don't need birth control to be promiscuous. Right? What they're saying is that they no longer have the consequences of sex. That makes them promiscuous. And also, men's promiscuity, very much overstated throughout history. Mm-hmm. Not actually as large an issue as they make it out to be when they excuse this. Right? So, like most societies...
It's more of the apex fallacy stuff when it comes to men's promiscuity. Like, a very small percentage of men could have been promiscuous, but they were the only men that these people were paying attention to. So, like, the average man who can't do that is ignored. But the small percentage of men who can, well, they become all men, So that's why that's where that comes from.
And then they also ignore the prohibitions for promiscuity, which every society I've looked at, the punishment for male promiscuity is either the same or higher than that for female. So women get more latitude. It's actually really hilarious because people will cite the Scarlet Letter as evidence of the condemnation of women's sexuality by the Puritans. Yeah, she wore a scarlet letter on her dress. You want to know why she wore a scarlet letter on her dress? Because she refused to confess who it was, the man that she had committed adultery with. You know why she refused to confess it? Because he would have been hung to death. He would have been executed. All right, so everybody's like, oh my God, she had to wear a scarlet letter. Well, what would happen to him? He'd be executed. And then they use this as an example of how women's sexuality was condemned. And then they completely forget why she did it in the first place. And that the actual asymmetry in punishment. She could wear a scarlet letter. If he was found out, he's going to die. All right? So that's something that's like throughout history, that's very common. Where men were promiscuous, especially in like societies where, sexuality is meant to be more controlled, men suffered more punishment. Even when you look at Islam, right? The men are suffering more punishment. They're more likely to be caned. They're more likely to be stoned. Nobody actually points this out, or at least as likely. And nobody points this out because everyone pays attention to the female victims for the same reason that we always pay attention to female victims. That's who we care about. That's why Boko Haram could kill like 1,000 schoolboys, just cut their heads off or kidnap them and kill them, considering it's the Middle East, probably also rape them, right? And nobody even cares. And then they kidnap a couple dozen schoolgirls and the world erupts into horror. Yeah. It's like, wow, that's really illustrative of who we care about. It's the same thing. We don't see the male victims. We don't see the man Hester committed adultery with because we don't care. But that doesn't mean that men weren't subject to greater punishments when they were promiscuous. But anyway, the point is that they overstate the case for male promiscuity throughout history. And they do it to justify this mess that we've constructed. Right? It's a mess. Nobody's happy. Except maybe some male sociopaths and female sociopaths. They're probably okay. They usually get out pretty good, regardless of how much of a destructive mess they make out of society. But like this, most people are just not happy with this. Women aren't happy with it. That's the hilarious thing. These people in this paper are arguing to continue women's misery. And we'll just tank the future of the human race to do it. Like I said last time, hey, that's our goal, everyone. Yay. Yay, we're all going to commit species suicide so women can be more miserable than they've ever been. Okay.
All right. So I got another Rumble rant here. Roboto123456 gave us $1 and said, so the choice was living with an A for adultery and for men to get killed. If men could wear the A, I think they would. Yes. But the social shame can be worse than death, Okay. Anyway. I think
he'd probably get both, guys. I think he'd be pelted with a lot of rotten fruit on the way to the gallows. Like,
that's true.
It's not an either or when it comes to men. It's why not both? Usually it is.
Mm-hmm.
Some social humiliation, torture, all right, and then killing. Why not? Okay, that is black humor, guys. If you need it spelled out.
No, I get you. Okay.
Oh, hey, how's Olivia? Is she back? Has she said anything?
She's just kind of. I think she's trying to get attention from the chat, so she's saying like kind of silly things. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Anyway. All right. So reliable contraception and legal abortion leads to a severed link between sex and pregnancy. Did I already read that part? And then more latitude for short-term dating. Then you got dating apps and large-scale sexual markets, which equals higher access to high-value males, which has the outcome of high filtration and aspirations recalibrated upward. Again, how do we determine that? This is the thing about this paper too. It determines a high value male not by any metric except does the woman like him. That's the only thing. So we have to assume that women are the peak of the peak judges of character and of fitness. Like no one's better at that than women on dating apps. Because women choose this small percentage of men, then those men must be high value. That's the measurement. It's because women chose him. So this is just pointing out that they're just running with this like it's true. So anyway.
Yeah, and not like men, not like women throughout human history. Just these women. Women have finally been liberated to select what they want from men. Don't look at the feminism behind the curtain, guys. Don't look at all of the shit that feminism says about men, right? How many ways it undersells men's mate value. And then the big prime, the big kahuna is, of course, men oppress women. And if you know that that heterosexuality, so we're having a relationship with a man is a site of your oppression, then your only question is trying to get the highest status man to submit to. right? That's no, let's not look at that as a potential distorter of what women's natural preferences are. And yeah, I think I actually have evidence of what women actually prefer when they're in a situation much closer to the ancestral situation. And I think it would blow this paper, like the collective authors of this paper, I think it would blow their minds. Because first of all, when women are in more of the ancestral conditions, like the conditions that we had when we were evolving, as opposed to right now, which I really have to explain this, right? Okay.
Mm.
Having access to the pharmacopoeia of a post-industrial society is not something that the female hominid evolved to have. Having access to the comfort of a post-industrial society is not something that the female hominid, like all of these things, I know this is going to blow people's minds. Just brace yourselves. Our society is very unnatural, right? Shelter, interior, central heating, electricity, a constant flow of social interaction in your pocket that you can pick out at any point and glue your eyes to. All of this stuff doesn't exist in the wild. Right? Constant like places where you can get dopamine hits doesn't exist in the wild. All of this stuff is very unnatural. And I know this is a stretch, but the behavior of human beings in an unnatural environment is not necessarily the behavior they evolved to have. And now bringing that back to women's mate choices, you take all of that away, and suddenly a normal man becomes a lot more attractive. Okay? And it's not even the provision. This is the joke that these I should stop using the word joke. Joke is my word for the day. Sorry. The thing that the authors of this paper probably blow their mind is that when you go back to that ancestral situation, so when women are back in a situation where they experience survival threat, they don't pair up with men because they need to. I mean, they do need to. They pair up because they want to. And let me explain. So if we ever go back to that, the MGTOW will say, well, women will need us again. No, once women go through enough of a survival threat, they will want you again. There's a big difference. Because once that V1A cross activation happens, the want comes back. The desire comes back. So they are going to want you again. Not just need you again, want. And that is the actual ancestral situation. There hasn't been a time where women have had this much comfort and safety. And it, again, and really nothing to do, right? All they have to do is pursue avocado prestige jobs. For the most part, if they're of a certain class, right? So comfort, safety, prestige, it's this is something that we've never seen before in human history. No survival threat, no sustained stress, no situation where V1A could cross-activate. That's my theory, of course. Still pending some actual empirical research, which probably will never happen. But yeah, so I mean, it's not the ancestral situation. Women do not have the ancestral inputs, so their behavior is disordered. They probably, in that situation, wouldn't consider these men to be the preferred men, right? They probably wouldn't, because I mean, you go back 200 years, and a woman who couldn't get a man to commit to her, she's not seen as prestigious as a woman who can, right? So commitment became something valuable in a man. So just 200 years ago, that had a value. So men who wouldn't commit wouldn't be seen as valuable. They'd also be socially ostracized. People don't even realize this. Like Rhett Butler from Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
Now, this was written by somebody who had spent a lot of time talking to people who had lived in the antebellum South. because he at one point was with a woman and they were on their own without a chaperone, he actually lost his standing in society for that. Like, he would no longer be received in households of good standing. He was considered a fallen man for that. So men who engaged in this behavior, the behavior that we now encourage, or these women are incentivizing, 200 years ago, he wouldn't be allowed to be in somebody's salon. Like, he would be, yeah, you go out in the curb where the trash belongs. Right? So this is like, when did this when this happened was when we stopped respecting and finding men's commitment desirable.
Yep.
Right? And men who didn't commit, didn't matter how attractive or how much money they had. Like, Rhett was always in this story sort of on the edge of society. And then when society broke down, he sort of found more of a place. But he was never really accepted until essentially everything became just complete chaos. But regardless, this was like, even 200 years ago, men who did not consent, or did not consent, commit, were seen as less desirable, less socially desirable, right? So again, we're living in a very weird time, very unique. The conditions of our era are quite singular, shall we say? And we probably shouldn't. We probably, like, nobody thinks that these women, for example, when they vote, that what they vote for is sensible, right? But when they go on the dating app, of course, we have to respect their choices and consider whoever they choose to be alphas. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, suddenly, it's exactly what you said. It's like, what the hell are we? Suddenly, these women know what's right for the future of the human race. They know who the ideal men are. And yet, they aren't making the same choices as their great grandmothers would make. They aren't making the same choices as the female hominid in the ancestral environment would make. They're only making choices because they are beneficiaries of a completely artificial situation that not only is completely artificial, but apparently is also making them miserable. And their choices are what we should consider to be ideal for the human race. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm done. I know that was sort of a very long, weird rant.
Well, no, that's okay. I got a super chow from Richard Bier, who gives us $5 and says, "Shout out to Olivia, as we haven't had a chat troll since Carly Ellison." Thank you. Okay, it's okay, guys. Just don't drive her away. Just like talk to her, rationally. All right. So next on the list, dating apps and large-scale sexual markets lead to higher access to high-value males, which leads to high filtration and aspirations recalibrated upwards, which I already read. Then male mating stratification leads to winner-take-all mating market. This is men, though, we're talking about, which leads to more female competition for the same cluster of men. Yes, and this is not a problem because you guys think that that's how it should be. Like a very small percentage of men should be having children with a multitude of women, and a lot of men should be left with nothing. Or, well, not even nothing, less than nothing, because those men are going to have to pay for those women's lifestyles and for the children through the government. So, yeah, that's not going to result in those men wanting to burn down their own society to feel the warmth from the ashes. I'm saying that some could. I'm not saying it's. I think it's possible. Like you take away men's purpose, and I think that they're going to become destructive. So, I mean, why wouldn't they?
Can I do a sort of a supplementary analysis?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'll probably do it anyway. But
yeah, what am I going to do? Stop
you? Yeah. Okay, so I talked about how men have a hierarchy of competence. or more like a network of competence. I mean, there is a little bit of hierarchy, but generally the guy who occupies the top slot does so because he's able to like resolve conflicts between all the other men. So it's like humans are really interesting. I think, a lot of the problem with these researchers is they don't really have an interest in people. You know what I mean? Like how the human do, they just are like, yeah, humans gross. Less of them, good. But humans are actually really fascinating. So anyway, we have human men have this competence hierarchy. And there, I believe it was Unwin who found out that those societies with the strictest monogamy are the most advanced and they have the most achievement, the most innovation. That is, like, you can't argue that. You 100% can't argue that. There is an absolute correlation between innovation and the strictness of marriage in a culture. Okay. And here is a possible model for why that is. When you have strict monogamy, right? Every man, for the most part, to a reasonable degree, has the opportunity to gain access to a partner by engaging with the competence hierarchy. So there's a huge incentive, like with societies where mating opportunities are centralized. What tends to happen is men use force to acquire the resources of other men. But when you decentralize mating opportunities, what ends up happening is men are incentivized to gain some, become a node in the competence network in order to gain access to having a wife, because that usually is the bar of entry, is that you are in some way a helpful member of your community, right? So this encourages every single man to pursue a productive trade or some way of developing competence. So you get the butchers, the bakers, candlestick makers, the tanners, the smiths, the carpenters, right? But then you also get guys who try to find new forms of competence to develop so that they can also, become a node in the competence hierarchy. Right? So it's like you incentivize a wider variety of men, all of whom may have completely unique ways of approaching what is competence, what is craft, what is progress, what is innovation. And that expands, like it takes us from a more rigid dominance hierarchy to a more flexible, expansive, and productive competence hierarchy. And that is pair bonding that's incentivizing that. And I think that probably has been working on us since the beginning, that like the beginning when we evolved. So these two kinds of and the thing is that even when you look at societies where there is the centralization, there is the harem model, there is the sultan who has access to multiple women, that kind of
Yeah.
thing, there still is a competence hierarchy because humans do this like almost inherently. So there still is a good portion of the population that's acting this way, that's pursuing craft, that's pursuing scholarship, that's pursuing business, that kind of thing. But anyway, so I think the mechanism that makes these societies that are strictly monogamous is that every man has a stake. And when every man has a stake in the competence hierarchy, in producing for it, they bring a lot of individual variation that creates a lot of innovation and progress. And even if you look at like medieval societies, they actually, in medieval societies, there was significant technological progress happening in agriculture, in mechanics. So like windmills and stuff, like they were like the precursors. Like it's not like this. Everybody has this belief about the Middle Ages as like this dark,
Yeah.
dung encrusted time, and
Yeah,
it really
people were
wasn't. It was
farming
just,
mud and stuff, yeah.
yeah. It really wasn't. It was a time where people were making a lot of advancements in places where, like the previous empires just didn't have any interest because they had to develop things locally and they had to overcome things like certain differences in seasons because you just couldn't use Egypt as the granary, so you had to grow where you were. You had to develop more local agricultural practices and that kind of thing. So there was advancement. Anyway, this is a bit of an aside. That's why I think that strict monogamy generally correlates with a highly developed and distributed and innovative society. It's because you give every man a stake in it in the competence hierarchy. And I don't think we want to get rid of that because it's self-defeating. Because when you dismantle that, a healthy distributed network of competence, an economy, in other words, that's healthy, can provide for women who don't actually give back in terms of a relationship with a man in the competence hierarchy, right? They just sort of sit and they parasitize off of the whole thing. I mean, if you have a healthy enough economy, you can manage that. But if you start at scale destroying that connection between these men and their work in society, right, then you are going to lose the very thing that generates the surplus that allows women to be single mothers. And that isn't something that applies for chimps. Like, this is going to blow up. It is blowing up. Okay. All right.
Okay. I got a Rumble rant from Roboto1234567 again, and they say, you know who has the harem model right now? France. Proven when asked they can have paternity tests, after which they then outlawed paternity tests because it highly affected inheritance law. I just read it as it was written. So, thank you, Roboto.
France is weird.
Yeah.
They're just weird. Okay, I want to do another shout out, guys. Please do help us out. Feedthebadger.com/support. Any bit helps. $5, $10. Really appreciated to make sure that we can continue to do this work. So feedthebadger.com/support. Do not fear the new fundraiser. It will not hurt you. Feedthebadger.com/support. And if you want to send a super chow, feedthebadger.com/just the tip. Send those super chows because they're better than the super chats. Okay.
So, all right, back to the chart. Exposure to high-value male imagery, such as media and influencers, leads to an upward recalibration of what is average, which then leads to perceived scarcity and fewer men seen as adequate. Sounds like something we could blame women for, but no, we're not going to. We're just going to pretend like, yeah, I guess that's just the way that cookie crumbles. Urban anonymity. Yeah, go ahead.
Is that not pornification? Like, is that not porn? Like when they say men are porn sick, we're allowed to condemn men for it.
Yeah.
Right, but we can't. Yeah, and the other thing is that what the heck do they mean by idealized men? Like the guys, like, are they talking about like Chris Helmsworth and all of those like bodybuilders?
They're saying media and influencers. So like famous men have been around forever, and that hasn't really had an effect too much on like women's sense of their own, I don't know, like their own worth or like their where they sit in the hierarchy, because there is, like a hierarchy of like desirability that's affected by, what you have to offer, how good of a person you are, how well you take care of yourself, but also with your proximity, like where you are in the world, where you are in terms of like your personal goals, where you are in terms of your community, and all of that would play a role in like the person you paired up with, even though there were famous people that existed like that you might be attracted to. We all had crushes on celebrities growing up. It was normal, but we didn't think, well, if I don't get that person, like I'm not going to settle for anything less than this famous person. So I don't think that that's true. But now we also have influencers. So we're talking about people that otherwise, I guess, according to the paper, they would presume that those men would not be famous because they're not like stars, musicians or comedians or actors or whatever, athletes. They're just social media influencers, and yet the women are also looking at those guys. Now, I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that influencers become big because they also have other traits that famous people would have. Like they may be attractive, they may be very fit, or whatever, or they have an advantage in some way. Like they come from money, and so they could use that to create a big platform. But like the point is that they exude status, and the women are apparently drawn to that. But then they also think, well, that guy's a normal guy that came from nothing, so why can't I have a guy like that? So maybe that's what they mean by that. But I don't know. So, but yeah, I agree that I guess it's just like, because the thing is with women too, I don't know. Half the time, I don't think they know what they want. I think that they just want what other women want. So they just see what other women are talking about, and they say, I want that because I want to make these girls jealous or whatever. It's not about like what is going to be the best match for building a family and a life together. It's more like what's going to make other girls jealous. Because that's kind of, I mean, I don't, that's what I think is going on, which is why I think this comparison to, like where women are comparing the men around them to like famous social media influencers and celebrities. Like, I always remind people about the time that when Zach Galifianakis was really famous after The Hangover came out. Zach Galifianakis is like this short, pudgy Greek guy that's like covered in hair, and he's got a big beard, and he's just kind of like, looks like he has a little bit of the Down syndrome. So he's not exactly a stud, but because the movie was so popular, and because he was one of the funniest things in the movie, then all these women on dating sites were like, yeah, if you look like Zach Galifianakis, that's a plus. Now, of course, they're not saying that anymore because he's no longer a big deal. He's like nobody. So this is what I'm saying. Like, why are we deferring to women's preferences, which are constantly moving, and they're completely arbitrary because it's all about trends and like what's popular, and nothing to do with anything that's actually going to build something stable. Nothing to do with that. It's just, makes my nether regions tingle, so I want that. Really? Like,
Yeah,
if we did that with men, like if we basically just followed whatever the whims of men were, and we told women, well, you just have to look like that now because that's what men are asking for. Like, what? I mean, it would destroy everything, right? It would be the same thing. I mean, if I at least,
like
yeah, go ahead.
everybody would have to look like a cat girl. But okay. Yeah, the thing is that you
With
are
double
looking at
D's and a fat ass.
yeah, um, but even that is actually sort of within the realm of possibility. Maybe not the ears, right, or the tail,
Well,
but the rest of it.
you got to
But
get on that.
I think what you're getting at is that we're looking at a very distorted subset of, and that's I think what I was talking about before. We're looking at women in a very strange environment, right? A very strange, distorted environment. And we're also looking at women who are not very mature in their choices. So they're very, bandied about by the whims of the social network, shall we say. And we're saying this is what society needs to aim for. And maybe we need to step back and ask ourselves, do we really need to be ruled by teenage girls? Is that really what we should do? Right? I mean, if I went up and I said, you know what we need to do? We need to arrange our society around the lines, not of the lobster, but of the teenage boy. What would people immediately say about that assertion? that everything, like our society, we should prioritize the desires of teenage boys, right? That should be the thing we aim for. And no, it isn't. Okay? If any feminist is listening, we don't do that, right? We shame men for any kind of shallow desire they have. But let's say I was advocating that we should rearrange society so that everything is defined by the desires of a teenage boy. I mean, I'm not talking late teens, like maybe a 14-year-old, right? That's what we should do. Everybody would be rightly say, I think that's a little mad. I
Yeah.
don't think we should do that. That's not a good idea. And yet, when we look at this subset of very immature, overly like socially influenced, like malleable, and girls living in an incredibly distorted world, we're like, yeah, that we should rearrange our society for their desires. I say no. Let us not live in a society arranged for the whims of Natasha in War and Peace. I think it was Natasha.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Some men. Yeah, I think that's not a good idea. Let us not do that. Let us reconsider anybody who suggests we should. And perhaps we should start thinking about that they need to be shamed, that word shamed, out of such an immature attitude to relationships. Right there, that I would like to propose that this whole alpha Chad stuff is just the teenage girl with a crush on the jock, like the head of the football team. That's it. And what we need is not to rearrange our world around the whims of a teenage girl's crush, but to encourage the teenage girl to grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what you're getting at.
Oh,
I
it's
would
just
also add,
it's a childish infatuation that we're basically calling
Mhm.
short-term mate selection. No, it's
Yes,
infatuation. You
it's
need to be bonked because you have the horny, and we're not supposed to just like,
exactly.
well, I guess we'll give her what she wants. That's what I mean when I say this isn't even like, people will say, like this something about like this there. Let me see. I saw something um about what men should be doing, but the thing is, this is not something men can fix on their own. And the other thing is, it has nothing to do with what the women want. Like, this is the mistake. This has nothing to do with you, ladies. This is about the future of our civilization and, by extension, children. Ultimately, it's about families and children. Now, look, if you don't want to have kids ever, that's your business. But don't try to trick everyone else into thinking that that's actually what they want too. And if they do want children, then they have to start acting like it, which means like an adult. And this is just
Mhm.
entertaining childish desires, ultimately.
Mhm. And again, if anybody asserted that we should rearrange society along the lines of the desires of a 14-year-old boy, that wouldn't fly. That would be like go over like a lead balloon. And yet this is what this paper is arguing. We should rearrange society
Yeah.
to indulge the 14-year-old girl. How about no? How about instead we demand that she grow up and enter an adult world where the compromises have to happen? You can fantasize about the captain of the football team all you want, but you're not going to get him unless you're you're the chief head, cheerleader, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but I just want to add one thing. Um, just to what you're saying. Yes, the whole idea that we have to rearrange our society around what women want is actually pretty astounding if you think about it. But also that, or like literally, that's what they're saying. They're saying we need to arrange society around what women want. Period. Even though giving women what they want apparently would lead to our extinction. But then the other aspect to this is, as I've been trying to bring up, is what these women want, what they want, is that actually what they want? Right? Do these women, like you were saying, Brian, do they even know what they want?
Yeah.
Or like you were saying, they just want what they're told, what will make their girlfriends jealous, what the latest hotness is, right? Is that, do they really know what they want as an individual? Have they really figured that out? Right? And have they figured out, and what their goals for their life is? Is it really just to orbit a man and make some vague gestures towards some kind of commitment, but not too much, because you know that he'll just drop you from his roster if you do too much, right? Is that the goal of their life? And to have all of this stuff, but nobody in it? Like no building nothing, creating nothing? Is that really what they want? And if that was what they want, why are they more miserable than ever and making coping, like doing TikTok cope videos? And why is romance a trillion-dollar industry if women don't want a relationship with a man? Or at least the facsimile of one. And again, the best-selling romances are not what you would assume. So obviously women do want at least the facsimile of a relationship with a man, but then the question becomes, what's stopping you from getting it for free? I mean, it's like, that the husbands in the park are free. The government doesn't want you to know that, ladies.
You can just take them home. No, don't
You
take
just
them.
take them home.
Ask them.
Yeah. Ask them if they're into that, and then take them. But yeah, that's it's like, do you is this really the hoof prints of happiness? But here's the other thing. I'm gonna be really honest, and maybe this will offend people. But if I weren't the type of person I am, I'm like somebody will say, "Don't look under that rock." It'll be like a sign, and I'll be like, "But I have to now. I have to look under that rock because you've told me not to." And yeah, I'm sort of I can't let things go. I have to know, and and if there's something that doesn't seem right, I have to figure it out. So I guess I don't just passively agree with people, but that makes me an outlier, I have found. And if I wasn't that, if I was just a regular woman going with the flow, absorbing the feminist messaging around men, right? I wouldn't want to be with a man. Like, I'd just be flat out.
Yeah.
Like, if I wasn't somebody who thought critically about the things that I'm told, I would just passively absorb the messaging that feminists make around men and men as partners and their oppression narrative. And I'd be like, yeah, that wouldn't make any sense for my life. Why would I want to take on such a huge liability? And that's a rational response for a woman to make in a society where feminists say what they say about men. The rational response is to reject men as partners for women. Right? So that's another factor we have to consider. The distortion that feminism is creating on what women desire. And I've mentioned one thing is that if you believe that heterosexuality is a site of oppression, then of course you're going to want to be oppressed by the best man you can get. I mean, that is an unbelievable hypergamy driver. Like, why would you want to be oppressed by Joe the plumber? Like, you wouldn't want to have anything to do with Joe the plumber. If you're going to be oppressed, you want Christian Grey, the billionaire. Right? That is an unbelievable, like, spark to hypergamy. It sets it ablaze, like, it just dumps gasoline on it. That's going to destroy what women are seeing and wanting. Right? And then all of the negative messaging about men is going to undermine what the average man's worth. And then you have, in addition to that, all of the extraneous sources of dopamine that women get. Like, you think about it, just this one thing, dopamine. Okay, you are in a, let's say, survival farming community, so subsistence farming, right? Your day is basically hoeing turnips, like, moving dirt, maybe milking cows, throwing down stuff. Like, every aspect of your day is labor or uncomfortable, right? The only source of any kind of dopamine in your life is your wife or your husband. Okay, that's going to create a lot stronger bond than when you can just go on, I don't know, Twitter. No, maybe not Twitter, but TikTok, and doom scroll for dopamine hit after hit after hit after hit. Right? You get rid of all of those artificial sources of dopamine, and you leave the only source, the only cortisol relief in your life is your sexual partner who you've, lawfully wedded to, and you're not, your community is going to excommunicate you if you go anywhere else. Yeah, that's going to be a lot stronger bond, just simply because there's nothing competing with it.
Yep.
And it's going to be so for men and women, right? So that's another thing. All of the dopamine hits that are just floating, free floating from any kind of relationship in our society, that's going to distort what women want. And then I wanted to go back to, I think that when they were talking about men, they were talking about prime physical specimens or something. And yeah, I know in the past there were actors, but we've all had this campaign of shaming men's desire, the beauty ideal for women, possibly so women don't have to be, they feel like they can be, they can be horny, but the man shouldn't be allowed to be.
Well, when women are horny, it's empowerment, Alison. When men are horny, it's
Yes,
oppression.
exactly. Yeah,
It's pretty
exactly. So
simple
they've
stuff. I
created,
don't know why you don't get it.
but it creates an asymmetry, because if you can say that my desires are empowerment, but men's desires are oppression, then you don't have, like, there's no legitimate way to just have a little bit of perspective taking. You see what I'm saying? So your partner wants Cindy Crawford, right? And you want, what was big then? I don't know. I want to
Well,
say John
Cindy
Cusack, but I
Crawford
don't think so.
was big. She's not. She's old
Yeah,
now. What Cindy
yeah, I
Crawford
know.
would have been what do you want? Like somebody from what decade?
Yeah, Robert Redford. I don't know. No,
Oh,
that's
like
too old.
a dude from
Yeah, yeah.
well, yeah, Johnny Depp,
Okay, we'll go with Johnny Depp.
Brad
Although I
Pitt. I
think he
mean,
was more of a,
those guys are still relevant, but yeah, Johnny Depp, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, fucking,
yeah. Anyway, so if your male partner had like a Cindy Crawford poster, I mean, that's perspective taking. So you're like, okay, well, that I you can sort of see that he wants something that he won't necessarily get, and then you realize, well, I want something that I can't get. You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
But now that you've shamed men for wanting a woman who is like a supermodel or very attractive, the woman can see what she wants and not have the perspective taking that, yeah, the man is settling too, in a way. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
Right? So there's that asymmetry. Perhaps somebody in the comments can clarify what I'm saying. I'm just putting it out there. But anyway, that's another distortion. There's a lack of perspective taking. And anyway, so there's a lot of distortions happening with what women supposedly want now. And the question really, is it what they want? Or is it what they're told to want? And is it what's left over after feminism has pecked at them or laid all its larvae in them like bot flies? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I got a couple more paid comments here, so I'm going to read through them. One is from Roboto 1234567 again on Rumble, who gives us $2 and says, Brian, Hollywood is like that, but not the rest of the world, thankfully. Zach is talented, but not in fashion at the moment, but that is the difference between males and females in society. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm like most men in the world are not like that, but women, you'd be surprised at how they're influenced by, like I said, the environment around them in terms of like what is trendy to like. And yeah, I do think that it's got a lot to do with like maybe, how much they're exposed to or whatever. I think that women can be paralyzed by choice, and when it looks like you have so much at your just like at your fingertips, especially with dating apps. So a woman gets on a dating app, okay, she'll get thousands of matches, like guys DMing her. And when men get a dating app, they may be very lucky to get one, even if they swipe right on every woman. Because when men are doing it, they're just playing a numbers game. They're just like trying to get like any date, and then they hope that it works out if she's not like completely abhorrent to him. But when with women, they have to be selective about which ones they go on a date with because they get so many requests. But I think that because of that, it goes to their head, and they start thinking that they're worth more or they're more valuable than they actually are. They have like a distorted sense of their self because there's so many men that are giving them so much attention. And so that's why they can be on there saying, well, if you're like women don't really want a guy that looks like Zach Galifianakis. They wanted Zach Galifianakis. There's a difference. So people will say, well, they'll name like a famous guy that's not the best looking guy. And they'll be like, well, that guy has a woman. Well, yeah, because he's that guy. But if you looked like that guy, there are women who wanted to be with Steve Buscemi, but they didn't want to be with a dude that just looks like Steve Buscemi. There's a difference. And this is where the delusion comes in, And unfortunately, it comes out because it's not just that they have these delusional ideas, it's that they're told by other women who I think are trying to make them fail that they deserve that. Oh yeah, you deserve that guy. You're a 10. Don't let anybody tell you different. No matter what they look like, they'll tell them that. And they'll go into the world thinking, well, yeah, I'm a 10. I'm the shit. I don't have to bring anything. I don't have to have any money. I'll bring all my debt. I can be fat. I can be, disease ridden, whatever. I can have all kinds of problems and not have to work on any of them myself because I just deserve the best guy. And I was told by my girlfriends that I do. And this random female influencer like Manifestel will tell them stuff like that. Or, Alex Cooper from the Call Her Daddy podcast. And maybe they're just trying to say nice things, but I think that they're actually trying to sabotage women. Like they're trying to sabotage each other through compliments. Men, they might try to sabotage each other by attacking each other. I remember Hassan Piker was doing a live stream, and he said, I forget what it was about, but he basically was telling, I know what it was. It was about that Pragmata video game, which is like a dad simulator. And there were all these dudes that were like, they saw it and it made them want to be fathers. And Hassan was like, well, you guys are all losers. You don't stand a chance. And this is his own audience. He was attacking his own audience as losers that don't have a chance, of like finding a woman and starting a family because they're bums or whatever. And that was his way of discouraging them. That was his method of mate suppression, right? And that's bad. Sure. I think it's shitty. I mean, I don't know why those guys keep following him, but apparently they do. But on the flip side, you have the female version of it, and it's a lot worse because what they'll do is they'll say, "Oh, you can totally get any man you want. You can have that guy right there. You should go after only these guys and don't settle for anything less, no matter what." And it doesn't matter if they come from a genuine place or not. They are sabotaging those women. They're convincing those women they deserve something they just are not in the same ballpark of getting, right? It's not even the same sport. But go ahead.
Okay. No, you're absolutely right. No, continue your thought. I'm interrupting and I'm being ridiculous. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was just finishing up there. I'm just saying that that's the way women attack other women's prospects. Is they love bomb them. They Yaslight. It was Yaslighting. That's what I used to call it. Yaslighting is when they tell women, "Oh yeah, you're a queen. You deserve the best. Don't settle." And of course, those women, if they buy into that, they basically they end up in a car later on saying where are all the good men at. So
Okay, so what I want to say is this. First of all, what are we determining worth from? Right?
who
Because the thing
is?
is that the way that we talk about worth, people's worth, like, oh, you're worth so much. You deserve this man who's a 666, right? And you say you're worth that, and you shouldn't settle for anything less. And the way that this is determining worth is, again, in the meat market, right? And it seems to me that a mid woman who actually has a husband who is also, average, will have more worth to that man than a woman who, well, exactly the same, like a mid woman who is some Chad's Thursday 3:30, right? Like the idea that worth is determined by your number in the mating, like the meat market, it just seems like it's really minimizing the concept of worth. You get what I'm saying, Brian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's also like it's like how do you put a number on someone falling in love with you, right? And you falling in love with them and being in a relationship with them and loving each other and having each other's backs, right? That there's nothing in the meat market that compares to the worth that a husband and a wife have for each other, who genuinely, they genuinely have a connection, they genuinely have a love for each other, right? There's no you're worth that, you're worth this in that just doesn't compare. It's like it's just, and women don't, like, when they say to each other, you are a perfect 10 and you deserve Chadwick 666, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they are actually denying the greater worth that she would get from a relationship with someone who will love her, is what I'm getting at. So
Yeah.
when they say, well, you're worth Chadwick 666, it's like, but they're putting her in a very shallow idea of worth, right? And what's getting to me is just, like I said, that idea of worth and where women derive their worth. Like, so this paper says what? Women never get that sense that they're loved, ever. I mean, that's literally what the paper is saying. Women don't need a sense of being loved.
No.
Women
Yeah,
can
they don't.
exist without it. They never have to feel the commitment, like a man making a commitment to being with them for the rest of his life. Oh, they don't need that. That's not a good. It's worthless, right? Women don't need that feeling, even though they're buying it for $1 trillion a year. Like, the feeling of falling in love, the feeling of being loved by a man, that's what they're buying, right? And this paper is treating this as like some kind of, you don't need that, ladies. You can just get screwed by Chadwick, you know, once a month when you're in your 20s, and maybe once every year when you're in your 30s, and then not at all in your 40s. And that'll be your life. That's good enough for you. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need to be loved. Who wants to be loved? Who wants to be in a relationship? Who wants to be married? Who wants a man to commit to them? Not you. You're strong and independent. You're fine with being Chadwick's 3:30 appointment. Out by 4:15. Make sure you clean up after yourself, lady. Right? I don't want to smell you. Don't use my bathroom. Chadwick's rules for Linda, 3:30. For mid Linda, 3:30. Like, that's her life. And then she
Yeah.
looks at that life because she's a strong and independent woman, and feminism tells you, yeah, if you have a problem with that, you got to suck it up, baby. You can't be emotionally reliant on a man. You have to be strong and independent. So don't expect anything. Don't expect to be loved. Don't expect to be committed to. That's the talk of that's slave mind, right? What is it? That's a master's talk in your head. That's the patriarchy colonizing your mind, lady. You don't want that stuff. It's so hilarious. It's okay, that's fine, ladies. You don't want to be loved. You don't want to ever experience having a man commit to you. You just want to compulsively buy books that give it to you for the rest of your life. Okay, then that's going to be your worth, is it? All right. Go, girl. Okay, let's do a bit more. I actually have some thank yous.
Okay, I got super chows, but go ahead and do the thank yous first, I guess.
Yeah, okay, so let me see how this. All right, okay, first of all, guys, when you put your support through, I have to apply it to the fundraiser manually for no freaking apparent reason. I'm still working with them. So if it doesn't go up, don't worry, it will go up once I apply it. So thank you. Actually, big thanks to Richard Bier. He put in $500. And I just want to give you a heads up.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Good news, everyone.
I just want to give you a heads up, Richard. You put it on reoccurring. So just make sure you were intending to do that. Oh, good Lord. There sounds like there's like a dog being something bad happening to them outside. Well, it's quieted down. All right, so just make sure that was correct. But big thanks to you, Richard. And then Telemnar gives us $50. Thank you, Telemnar.
Thank you, Telemnar.
Good news, everyone.
And then Anthony, Hyper Chicken gives us $100.
Thank you.
And let's just see. I should probably go to the actual. Sorry, guys. Like your names come out in all kinds of different ways, so it's one of the more annoying things about this. Oh crap. I haven't. Do you mind if I just go check to make sure there isn't a dog being slaughtered in my backyard?
Sure. Go ahead.
Like, what the?
I got some super chows to read anyway, so. All right.
Oh no! Oh, I just realized what's happening. My
What?
husband is spraying the dog with water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
it's fun. He's
So
not being slaughtered. He's
So
just
it's
being
not
watered.
mass murder, it's just water. Okay.
Yeah, it's just water.
All right. Are you done with the thank yous?
Almost. AF, thank you for $5. Thank you, AF.
Thank
and
you.
I think that's everybody. Yep.
All right.
And if you guys want to join our very generous support.
Erotic.
If you still want to listen to our podcast after that, you want to support it, go to feedthebadger.com/support. That is like the least erotic sound possible. Feedthebadger.com/support. Yeah. To help us out, and feedthebadger.com/just-the-tip if you want to send us a message, which I think we got some more, perhaps. Did you read them?
I got super chows. So Richard Bier gave us 5 and said, who remembers a movie titled 13 Going on 30 that starred Jennifer Garner? Was that a contributing factor, or was it just reflecting what was going on with women? I think it was just reflecting it, yeah. That's what if I had to guess, that's what I would say. Let me see. There was also another super chow, but I can't bring it up on the screen now, but I'll just read it out. From the official Reverse Traditionalism channel on YouTube, it gives us $5 and says, on Alison's rock comment, when I was a little kid, my mother told me not to stare into the sun, so once when I was 6, I did. At first, the brightness was overwhelming, but I had seen that before. I kept looking, forcing myself not to blink, and then the brightness began to dissolve. My pupils shrunk to pinholes, and everything came into focus, and for a moment, I understood. Pi, 1998. Is that the movie Pi? I did not like that movie. Okay. So, That's it for the super chows. Are we ready to keep going? Alison's distracted. I got another Rumble rant from Nova Fan for $1, and he says, "Imagine how cucked women's liberation is when both supporting the oppressive patriarchy and the Handmaid's Tale has become the moderate position." Okay, thank you for that. All right. You there? You ready? You there?
Yes,
Hello?
yes, I'm here. I'm
Okay,
here.
okay.
Oh wait.
Yes?
Okay, yes, I'm just fighting with my mute button. Sorry. I just got a message from Richard and says that it's supposed to be one time. I can't change that, Richard. You got to just cancel it. And I'm going to ask you, did you actually have to do something to create it recurring, because it shouldn't be a default. Anyway, I'll deal with it. Let's keep going.
Okay. So should I like keep going through this like list, or do you want me to just get into the rest of the paper? More of
Let's
the
go
paper.
through
It's
it
a long.
faster.
All
Let's
right.
just go.
Well,
I'll shut up.
I'll
I will.
read, okay, but I can't. If you decide to go on another rant, I don't know what to do. So, all right.
Okay.
Exposure. No, I already read that. Urban anonymity and mobility, which leads to reduced reputational cost, and which also the consequence of which is less community enforcement of mating norms. So they're blaming this on urban anonymity, the mating norms, which, by the way, they're against anyway. The people in the paper were saying that marriage is like just like, oh, what, how unfortunate that women have to settle. So I don't see this as like them doing anything other than saying this is good that this is happening. That there is less community is a good thing. So, okay. Reduced stigma around non-marital births leads to lower social penalty, which then leads to short-term mating has fewer reputational costs for women. So all I'm seeing here is a list of things that we need to bring back. I'm just saying. Maybe we do need some stigma around non-marital births. Maybe we need that. Fear of divorce and distrust of men, which leads to pair bonds seen as risky investment, which then leads to short-term as safer experiment. So they admit this is an experiment. Women are not afraid of divorce. Men are. They're not like that's silly, but they do distrust men. I wonder why. Where did that come from? Nowhere? High partner optimization psychology, search rather than settle, leads to abundance of perceived choice, possibility of a better match. Yeah, this is what I was just talking about with all the matches women get on dating apps, which then leads to serial evaluative dating, failure to transition from dating to pair bonding. Again, maybe something we should look into changing. Individualistic cultural ethos leads to self-actualization being more important than familial obligation, which then leads to romantic fulfillment required before reproduction. Oh, God, yeah. So the individualistic ethos is also part of the problem. You're just describing all the problems, basically. Hyper-competitive labor markets lead to higher opportunity cost of child rearing. Then that delays the reproductive window, which then makes it shorter. Again, that's poor people have lots of kids, so it's not money. That's the issue. Therapeutic culture, self-focus over compromise, leads to relationship strains reframed as self-care priorities, which then leads to lower tolerance for conflict, quicker disillusion with relationships, and repeat of short-term cycles. Again, therapeutic culture is feminist culture. That's what it is. So yeah, if you're getting like your advice from about marriage and family from a feminist, then they're probably going to tell you not to do it at all costs, which is like why your relationships are strained, why you fear or distrust men, why you have such an overly inflated sense of self. Delayed adolescence. Oh, yeah, that's good. 13 going on 30. Delayed adolescence, prolonged experimentation phase leads to emerging adulthood extended, which leads to commitment deferred intentionally. And then you have romantic idealism and narrative expectations, leading to Hollywood / media narratives elevated through relationship benchmarks. Remember when I was talking about where women get their standards from? Which then leads to good enough partners rejected, disillusionment with ordinary relationships. They're just describing all the problems that they've created, and they're acting like it's something that happened for no reason, like organic. And lastly, growing gender political polarization, which leads to distrust and ideological framing of the other sex. Now, you're talking about men. Men, okay? Men still love women even if they disagree with them politically. You're saying the sexes are fighting. No, no, no! No. Women hate men right now, or at least they're starting to hate men, and it's completely irrational, and men are still willing to put up with them. Anyway, which then leads to mating seen as ideological risk and reducing a willingness to engage. So that's the list. It's all the stuff that these people have supported allowing to happen, and then not really bemoaning, but commenting on what they perceive as completely not natural and organic outcomes for their meddling. It's like they're bragging about what they've done. But they're doing it with charts. Okay, I've read the thing, Alison. You can talk now. Alison, are you there? You fighting with the mute
Yes,
button again?
No, I wasn't fighting with the mute button. I was correcting the situation with Richard. So I suspended the reoccurring donation or support, and I think I've corrected that it auto goes to monthly, which was not what I intended, but apparently is a preset for the form. So I think I've got it off the preset. So everything should be good. I think every fire is put out now, except for
Okay.
this one that we're reading about. Yeah, it's like all this stuff that like literally what they could say is all the shit we did stopped women from having kids, yo. Right? This like, and none of this is like, maybe we should question these, what is it, pressure changes? Like none of that, like we can't be like, huh, maybe we should, instead of just saying, okay, well, this is the reality now, we're screwed. Well, let's give women more money. Let's just, we got, the human race has arsenic poisoning. Let's just eat some more. Surely that will work. Hair of the dog that bit. So all of this stuff, instead of looking at this and saying, hey, maybe something's gone wrong, right? Maybe we should figure out, can we mitigate these problems? Can we look at them, see if there's something we can work around? No, we just have to accept them. Well, for one big thing is, if the human race is going to go extinct because taxes are taken from men and given to women, or alternatively, in terms of welfare, because they're not coming from the fathers of the children, right? And they're not coming from women, they are coming from men, because men are net taxpayers. So if the human race is going to go extinct because we take taxes from men and give them to women, why don't we stop that? I mean, it's a possibility, isn't it? We could stop that. We could stop doing that.
Yeah.
And if the human race is going to go, and one other thing that actually prevents women from having children is having it, and this is going to sound like it's a condemnation of men, but bear with me, is having an involved father. So if a father is involved, a woman is more likely to have more children if the father is involved in raising the child. Not actual chores, raising his kid. So, taking him out, playing baseball with him, bringing him on a fishing trip, whatever else, helping her with her homework, whatever it is. The woman sees that, more likely to have more kids. You know how you get more father involvement? Shared custody. So there's another way to change things in a positive direction, right?
Yeah.
And then the big one is, of course, the metal Girl Scouts, right? Go take the daughters and put them through something arduous to activate their. I know this is going to be totally controversial. Probably we'll never do it. We'll just let our entire society collapse, and men can watch their daughters sell their asses for a cheese wheel instead. But this would probably do a lot. Figure out how we get V1A cross activation in women in a palatable way, right? Do that. And then you will see women will on their own want to pair bond because they will have more of the male apparatus. Like men want a woman in a certain amount of that is because they come already equipped with the vasopressin, right? The target lock, the specificity, and women need a little bit more oomph to get them into the same position. Well, let's give that to them. Could do that too. I mean, the authors of the paper do talk about endocrinology. I'm just not sure they're ready to take it where it needs to go. The
Yeah.
metal Girl Scouts. There you go. Yeah, so like, but again, they just list this stuff, and they're like, well, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're
Nothing we
just
can
like,
do.
well, looks like we gotta just we need like to redistribute wealth to women now because look at
More.
what's happened, all like completely unforeseen, completely from nowhere. Oh well, I guess we're just gonna turn this country into a socialist hellhole now. I mean, like, do you want women to be upset, even though it's not really gonna serve anyone? But yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's what it
No, well,
is.
they're going to be upset regardless, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we just need to give up making it so that women aren't upset. That just seems like the constant. Yeah, like, okay, so you finish the table. Let's continue the final
All right, so well, there's more. This is kind of a
paragraph.
long article, but I'll read the next paragraph. And our genes, however, are unaware that we have invented reliable birth control. So they're saying, okay, this is also kind of funny. We just went through a whole list of conditions that have nothing to do with biology that they have created, like or were sort of like social things like dating apps existing. I don't know that those existed specifically to like sabotage relationships, but these are not genetic things. Like most of this stuff, like how is the genes responsible for generous state welfare, safety nets, and daycare centers? How is genes responsible for reliable contraception and legalized abortion? How are genes responsible for the exposure to high value male imagery in media and through influencers? How are genes responsible for the distrust of men and the growing gender political polarization? How are genes responsible for therapeutic culture? These are all the things that have affected women. And they're saying, well, it's just our genes, guys. Our genetics did that. When women serially date and have sex with the highest value men, gene replication is rarely the outcome. With the invention of the pill, we may have checkmated our genes, but potentially also our future survival. Alas, evolution seems to have programmed into us a more immediate and perhaps also stronger desire for sex than babies, which was adaptive, but only until modern contraceptives empowered us to reap the rewards of love and copulation without having to incur the cost of pregnancy and childbearing.
Okay, can I point out the obvious?
Hmm.
Right? Okay. Contraception, right, means that women don't have to have children. And they're not having them. Right? And that means that they can have sex with men who, I'm going to be honest, if these women are not having babies with these men, are these men really, are they really the top of the totem pole? Like, think about it. This entire schema that we've constructed is not producing a lot of babies. Like, when chimps go out and do the chimp thing, they produce a lot of chimp babies, right? When they do the promiscuous thing, and it's actually not, it's a little bit too simplistic to say that the female chimps only mate with the alpha male. It's more like the alpha coalition, but also there's some other male chimps on the side that engage in some courtship behaviors and get some copulations that way, and also the coalition that monopolizes most of the matings rotates. Like a chimp that's on the top of his game one year may no longer be mating the next year. So it's a very different system than our own. It does not resemble our system at all. Okay?
Yep.
And here's the other thing. The chimp females are successfully breeding in that system. Human females are not successfully breeding in this system. And that is because these women are choosing these so-called these high genetically fit specimens of men, supposedly, and they are not having their babies. Do you notice that, Brian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Freedom.
They're just having sex with them.
They're just having sex with them. Freedom from consequence has led women to have sex with men they would otherwise never have bred with. I want people to sit with that. Because that isn't actually indicating that the men are on the top of the genetic ladder. It actually sort of indicates that women are scraping the bottom of the barrel. And what they're actually getting is not the ones that they think are genetically fit. They're getting ones who they just think fuck good. They're good entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're men that they would never have children with. And in fact, I remember there was this pro-life conservatives created this ad in which they showed a man who was attractive, and he was talking in a very coarse way about his sexual conquests. And they said something like, "Oh, ladies, do you want to get pregnant by this dude?" And some woman and it was an anti-abortion ad. I'm probably not doing it justice, but a woman in the comments was like, "Europe created a pro-abortion ad, because why would I ever want this man's babies?" Like, and the conservatives were like, "You're being used, and you're being hoodwinked," and in a way she is, but you got to just engage with the fact that she wants to fuck him. She doesn't want to have anything really to do with him. She doesn't want his children, and that's what's happening here. These women are going to these men not because they think they're genetically fit, but because they find them entertaining. They're never going to have their kids, which is why single women don't have children. Does he fuck good? They're not going to have a kid with him. Right? They're not going to these men because they want their babies. Not even on an unconscious level. Right? Yep. They're going to them because they're entertaining, because women today are completely dysregulated in terms of what they desire. If this was actually a system in which they were finally getting what they want, they'd be having babies like mad. Right? Every woman would be a single mom with Chadwick number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's not what's happening. That's what happens with chimps. Right, guys? You got to understand that. When chimps breed promiscuously, they are breeding. When human beings do it, they have nothing. Because we are not promiscuous breeders. How much do we have to bang our heads against this before we recognize it? If we were promiscuous breeders, all of these single women who have Chadwick's 3:30 appointment would have Chadwick's baby, and they don't, because they do not consider Chadwick, even with welfare, even with their own jobs and their own resources and supposedly the ability to take care of their babies, just like a female chimp, right? They still don't want to have children with the men they're having sex with. And giving them more stuff isn't going to change that, because this is absolutely dysregulated behavior. It is not behavior that makes any sense on an evolutionary level or an endocrine level. It is simply the behavior of women who have mistaken entertainment for a lifestyle, I guess. Right? And we're not going to get anywhere with this. And again, if you say that the men that women have sex with for entertainment are the men they will breed with, you're wrong. And they're also somehow genetically superior, well, again, then babies would be resulting, but they're not. The exact opposite is resulting. These women are having sex with these men, and if they're not on birth control, they're aborting the result. Okay? That's not the behavior of a female mammal that's finally discovered their true mating arrangement. It's the behavior of a female animal in severe distress, honestly. But of course, she's strong and independent, so she really loves the entertainment.
Yeah.
Right? She don't need no love. She never needs to be loved by any, she never needs commitment. She just needs to be entertained. Right? That's what she wants with her life. Like if this was the behavior of any other female mammal on the planet, the zoologist would be saying this animal is really under a lot of some kind of stress. Like she's really not. This is not a good thing. This is not the symptom of a happy creature. Female mammal not breeding, generally sign numero uno that something is seriously wrong with her environment or whatever input that's happening. I don't know, maybe she's too close to the freeway or something. Something is wrong. But somehow we look at this in human women and we're like, yeah, they're perfectly happy. I says, this makes perfect sense. Like this is something we need to continue. Let's keep doing this. I mean, even on that, on just if you just set aside the situation for men, which is not great, but in any other situation, if you saw a female mammal refusing to reproduce, you would conclude that something is wrong. Yeah, there will always be women who aren't interested, especially Northern Europeans. We tend to do the chastity thing more, like we monks, nuns, that thing. But for the most part, if your population of female mammals is not having cubs, there's something wrong. And it's not too much happiness. It's not too much contentment. It's not too much of what they need. It is not a surplus of empowerment. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just put that out there.
Okay. Let's see. How it's almost been 2 hours. How much more do you want to do?
Do you want to try? Well, I guess the section is a bit long. There's like a couple more paragraphs of the section.
Yeah.
We could go for that.
Okay. All right.
I will shut up.
I know you won't, but that's okay. If our hypothesis holds, dating apps should not be emphasized as a mismatch, the culprit that contributes to ultra-low fertility. Throughout human history, the inclusive nature of men's short-term mate preferences generally provided women access to uncommitted sex, while women's discriminatory short-term preferences favored the most attractive men. Dating apps just amplify these ancient dynamics. Instead, the key mismatch is modern contraceptives. So they're saying it's not dating apps that should be emphasized, but it's contraceptives. Today, the emotions programmed into women respond to an exceptionally resource-rich environment that is uniquely empowering for women. So much so that solo parenting could be preferred option for their genes. But in terms of reproduction, birth control renders short-term strategies ineffective, and most women lack the economic and social resources that would make them consciously choose to reproduce without a partner. Put differently, men as a group no longer provide enough value to free women for modern societies to sustain replacement level fertility through pair bonding alone. These,
What?
yeah, yeah, they're
No,
acting like everything that exists is just there. It's in the back, and
yeah.
we just don't. Yeah, we just don't need to care
Well,
about.
and also, okay, welfare proves, at least it did for a couple generations, that women will breed based on the resources that they get. A certain small percentage of them will. Right? So that's wrong. But the other thing is that it is not modern contraceptives, right? Because again, if it was modern contraceptives, married women would have the same birth rates as single women, and they don't, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
birth rate isn't completely in the toilet because married women are still having the same amount of children as they did in the 90s. It hasn't moved for 3 decades. The problem is we have far fewer married women now than we have ever had. And if it was contraceptives, then we would see the same collapse in fertility in married women as we do in single women. But we don't. Literally, the problem is that for women, and probably men too, but on a much more mechanistic, like causal way, a pair bond has to be in place before they start to reproduce. So a pair bond is a necessary input for women to become reproductive, essentially. That's what it's looking like, judging from the difference in fertility between married and unmarried women. Right? That holds everything else constant. It holds modern society constant. It, in many ways, holds education constant. It holds, because educated women actually do get married more. It holds contraceptive constant. It holds abortion access constant. It holds access to dating apps constant, everything. And yet the one true variable is whether or not a woman has formed a pair bond with a man. If she has formed a pair bond with a man, she has children. If she has not formed a pair bond with a man, she does not have children. Full stop. So everything narrows down to that one initial input. What is stopping women from choosing men? Okay? That's it. You get women choosing men again, and you will have children again. That's it. Right? And whatever they're saying, well, women are not choosing men, so let's give them more reason not to choose men, and that'll work. It won't. Like, this is really shallow thinking, because they are obviously looking at the things that have not worked and they're literally looking at the thing that created the problem and
Yep.
saying, let's do more of it. Surely that will solve things.
Yep.
It's like we're falling off a cliff and we're on like a sub cliff, like a little ledge. And these people are like, you know what we need to do? We need to fall further. Yeah, I don't think that's going to help us. I don't think that's going to prevent us from hitting the bottom. In fact, I think that's going to make us hit the bottom faster, if I understand gravity correctly. Like, this is their solution. We haven't fallen far enough. Surely, if we fall all the way to the bottom, that will mean that we have climbed back to the top. Yeah, sure, that'll work. Don't pay attention to physics. Because what we've done is a good thing, and that means that we can't be falling. Because Brian, when you do a good thing, bad things don't happen. So if we just walk off this ledge, and that's the good thing, and the good thing only creates good things, so we won't fall to our deaths. We'll actually levitate up to the top of the cliff. Let's do it. Perfect logic.
Yep.
Does it feel sometimes like you're just in a world of retards?
Sometimes. All
Okay,
right.
let's finish the
Yeah.
final paragraph.
To
I'll try to be quick.
these okay, yeah. Today, a resource for empowering for women. Did I read that already? Yeah. These mating dynamics comprise what we term the female choice fertility paradox. When women are free to choose their own partners, because apparently they weren't free in the past, but men were, while also having economic independence and effective contraceptives, their evolved mating psychology motivates strategies that undermine pair bonding and thus sustainable fertility at the national level. Consequently, mostly, so like what you're saying is liberating women cause a lot of problems, but we can't undo that, so we just gotta like move forward. Consequently, mostly all gender equal nations have entered the post pair bonding fertility trap, which impedes the formation of sufficient stable pair bonds to ensure their populations' future survival. Although these claims remain provisional and require further empirical testing, they suggest a coherent evolutionary way of understanding how contemporary mating market conditions may matter for low fertility. This perspective complements more familiar demographic explanations by focusing on processes upstream of childbearing. Subsequent articles will elaborate the framework by isolating its component mechanisms, clarifying their interaction, formalizing their structure, and developing more precise predictions.
Okay, so
That's
they've
the.
even said it. They can even said it. It's the post-pair
Hmm.
bonding fertility trap. Okay, I really question how they use the term empowerment. I don't think that this is empowerment of women at
Hmm.
all. If it was, they would be having children. Like literally,
Well, if
if
you can give women power, and I guess you could say that's empowering them, but the only thing that they seem to be doing with it is just serving themselves in the short term, if they can even do that. I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
yeah, okay. All right. So, first of all, I don't know if this is empowerment. They like the term a lot, but again, if patriarchy had been suppressing women away from the natural way that they produce babies, when the suppression stopped, we should have had a baby boom. Instead, we had a complete collapse. So, how is that empowerment? Like they've said, okay, we've lifted the restraints off of women's natural choices, and what's resulted isn't more babies, but more abortions. Okay? How is that empowerment of women's choices? If this was the way that women actually reproduce and they were forced out of it by patriarchy, then again, we should be experiencing a baby boom. We are not. Therefore, this isn't the way that women choose to reproduce. Okay? This is why I feel like we're in a world of retards. If women aren't reproducing in this landscape, then this isn't the landscape in which they want to reproduce. And making more of it isn't going to change it. Right?
Yeah.
If you put your pandas in a cage where, it's electrified and they're periodically sprayed with water, right? And they don't breed, don't increase the voltage of the floor and the amount of time that they get sprayed with water. That's not going to make them breed more. Okay, so if we've determined that this landscape is not one in which women breed, don't create more of it. Because that's what these authors are arguing. This is the landscape in which women don't breed. These are the reasons why it's come about. Let's make more of it. It's like, yeah, it's not going to create little pandas.
No.
That is, in fact, the exact opposite of what you need to do. Why are you suggesting we do it? Because we can look around and we can see the problem and we can see the conditions that created the problem. Why would we create more of the conditions that create the problem? And right here, you are saying exactly what the problem is. It is a pair bonding deficit. Women are not forming pair bonds. Well, okay. There are things that we could do to help that along. For starters, we could stop allowing feminism to define men's worth or men at all.
That's a good start.
Because and I'm going to be quite honest, again, if I weren't a woman who, if you tell me not to do something, or if you tell me not to think something, or in feminist case, if you insist that I think something and then you say, if you don't think this thing, we'll abuse you, I'm not the kind of woman who's like, okay, well, yeah, I think I'm going to submit to you now. That in fact does the exact opposite for me. So this is like feminists, if you're listening to me, this is where you went wrong. You said I had to think something, and then when I said no, you said, well, we're going to abuse you until you do think that thing. And then I said, well, fuck you. And now here we are, 26 years later, right? So if I wasn't a woman like that, if I was more like the average woman, and I'm not casting shade on the average woman, the average man is sort of similar too. They just want to get by to get, they don't want to have to question everything. They just want to live their life, float along the current, right? And all my input, or the vast majority of my input on what men are, what they do, and the value they bring to a relationship was how feminists frame men. I would say no too. I'd be like, the rational choice here is to completely avoid these creatures and to say I choose the bear. Because I've spent my entire life being told by feminists what men are. Right? So maybe we should stop that. No, I talked about like the pandas being sprayed in the face with cold water, ice water, periodically. Maybe we should stop doing that to women. Right? Maybe get rid of that. Stop that. That might help. I'm just spitballing here. But maybe getting rid of feminists as authorities on what men are, which is where they're positioned right now, guys. They are the authority on what men do and what men are. Maybe just get rid of that. And the pandas might breed. Just get rid of the ice water jetting into their face every 5 minutes. Maybe they'll feel a little more comfortable. Just stop that, right? That could be one thing we do. See if it hurts. See if it works.
What a wild concept. Yep.
Wild concept. Okay? I mean, there's some other stuff that we could do. Might be a little bit more extreme. Like figure out how to activate that V1A. Cross-activate it. That might be a critical component. I mean, we already are doing it in one sort of social experiment, which is women in naval warships. And snapshot pregnancy rate 16%, guys, on naval warships. That is the last time they allowed the public to know what's going on a naval warship. That's like a Freedom of Information request from the Times from like 2017, after they did this big push to get women to be like 20+% of the sailors on naval warships. They have not released anything to the public about the pregnancy rate since. And that rate doubled. I mean, since like the 90s. So in the 90s, it was about 10%. Or no, it was about 7 to 8. And then they had the big push to go from like 9% female sailors to 20%, which they did manage to get about 18%, and they doubled the pregnancy rate. That's not like a geometric fact. That means that when you had 9 female sailors for every 100 sailors, about 1 of them would be pregnant. Now that you have 18, 2 of them are. So the percentage has gone up. So we figured it out there. I'm not sure if that's really what the U.S. Navy wanted to solve, but it has. So we could maybe look into that as an option. Mandatory conscription, guys. I know everybody's against it, but maybe we need it for the future of the human race. Mandatory female conscription. Israel has it. And Israel's birth rate is like 3 per woman. That's the other anomaly.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, honestly, like, all Israel really has to do is just wait for all the, people don't realize this, but the Muslim nations are cratering too. Iran has a birth rate under, I think, 1.5, or it might be 1.6. Like, all of the Muslim nations, they're like suffering this as well. Israel just keeps going up, they go down. I mean, Israel could just sit there breeding and eventually they'll control the Middle East. Not a shot fired. Might be something they might want to consider. So yeah, that's another thing to try. I think the feminism is the big one though. Really.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how Andrea Dworkin became the czar of masculinity, but here we are, reaping the benefits of that crazy decision 50 years ago. All right, let's I think that we finished the final paragraph, so
Yeah.
I'll see if there's any thank yous. Okay, guys,
Sure.
if you want.
I got a rumble rant while you're doing that, but go ahead and say your thing.
Sure. No, I'm going to find them, so I don't have anything to say at the moment. Do your rumble rant.
All right. NobaFan21 gave us $1 and said, feminists, we gave women freedom and empowerment, but it's not improving things. Let's try more freedom for women. Let me see. Alison just moved out of the thing. I think she timed out or something. I got to move her back. Wait, she hung up. All right, I'll just keep reading. She'll be back. There she is. Regular person, we also haven't tried more patriarchy either. Feminists, angry NPC. But
okay,
they don't.
Can I just?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there. Do you know what patriarchy is right now? It's just basically allowing men to be desirable at all.
Yeah,
like
it is.
Exist. It's just allowing men to exist and have any kind of something of worth to bring to a relationship, and recognizing it. That men might have a unique value in any capacity, as a father, as a lover, as a husband, as a worker. That's patriarchy. Just being like, yeah, men sort of bring their own thing. They got their own, they've got their own thing going on, and it's a good thing. And we should encourage more of it. Yeah, that's patriarchy, apparently. It's ridiculous. And again, before we even go to all the extreme, like manosphere ideas, why don't we just shut up the feminists? Like, just be like, why were you ever appointed the grand arbiters of what masculinity is and what men are? Yep. Why did that happen? Like, maybe just shut them up and see if that improves things. Okay. And also improve the laws too. Like, I mean, yeah, it'd be great to shut feminists up and tell them, you know nothing about what men are or masculinity is. You know less than nothing, so shut up and stop getting a pulpit to be telling everybody your ignorance, spewing your ignorance over the world. Yeah, let's do that. And then let's address some of the laws. Right? Shared custody, get rid of the asymmetrical laws around domestic violence and sexual assault, that kind of thing. See if that improves stuff. Actually recognize that men aren't uniquely rapey, because that's another plank in the feminist campaign against men. Not uniquely sexually violent, not uniquely violent in terms of domestic violence. I mean, really, we should know that from the stats coming out of lesbian relationships. But yeah, let's just get rid of that stuff too. Doesn't help. Okay, stop spraying the panda in the face with ice cold water. Maybe she'll start breeding again. You never know. All right.
Well, that's it. That was the. I don't think there's anything else. Let me just double check. Nope. That was the last super.
Yeah,
there was a super chat sent earlier, like a while ago, half hour or more so, from the 1337 nut for $1.99, or the leet nut, and they said, dog getting sprayed. All right, thank you for that. Now I've read them all.
Oh wait, that's probably where I got the water from. My husband was torturing the dog with water being sprayed in his face or on it. I don't think he was really torturing it though. I think the dog enjoys it because it can run away from it. You know?
Yes, they were.
That's playing. The thing. I'm not sure. Like he's not leashed, so he's just in the backyard running around being sprayed. And one would assume that if he didn't like it, he'd run away from it. Sort of like women, you know. But anyway, so that's that section. At least we got another section done. That's good. We're getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting
towards individualistic reproduction, which is really just give women more money to not have babies.
Yeah, we're on figure B.
To not pair bond.
Or
and
figure
not have
8,
babies.
rather. Yeah.
I didn't realize Canada was not doing too bad. Like, compared to the rest of the West, Canadians are partnered up more.
Well, that's
interesting.
Something.
Yeah, it is, but we don't really have kids, so I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so anyway, if you would like to support the show, feedthebadger.com/support is where you would do that. I don't see any additional items.
No,
but that's okay. We got a fair amount. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/support. If you want to send a message, you can do so at any time the show is over. We are going through this entire paper at glacial speed. So if you have a question or a comment on the content of this paper, such as it is, you can send that to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And if you want to join us in our community and get a link to this paper so that you have one of your very own, you can do so at badgernation.online. So those are the options. You can see them in the low bar. And I will hand it back to Brian. Take us out.
All right. Yep. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today, and share the video because sharing is caring. Thanks so much for coming on this episode of Maintaining Frame, and we will talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.